I've forgotten the plate. I didn't attach it. Luckily, I've managed to improvise. Sparrowhawk's just landed again. And I stayed in that one spot for the entire time, for every second. So what I've done, I've forgotten the plate. The plate that goes on the bottom of this lens foot to fit it on the head of this tripod, I just, for some reason, I didn't attach it. Hopefully I can come up with a solution. Welcome everybody to another episode of How Not to Photograph Birds, because I've managed to forget the plate that I attached to the foot of this lens. I feel like a complete idiot, but it happens to us all. Luckily I've managed to improvise. So like I've just put it on here to see what it's like, and there's a bit, kind of like a release plate bit, and it's just kind of stuck in there. Alright, I don't mean it's stuck, I mean I'm actually able to put it like that. I can actually pan it. I can even tilt it as well, and it's perfectly fine, which is just bizarre, so it's kind of saved the day. It's gonna be okay as it is like this. I just need to remember that it's not fully attached. With this makeshift solution, I'm trying to keep my left hand over the lens foot for safety. Today I'm at Bempton Cliffs on the Yorkshire coast, and I'm hoping to photograph short-eared owls. Last winter there was a huge influx of short-eared owls that came over to the UK from Scandinavia and Northern Europe, and Bempton Cliffs was a great place to see them. I'm going to try and stay here all day to give myself the best possible chance of short-eared owls. There's a lot of magpies flying around. If I get no short-eared owls, then maybe I'll get a chance at some magpies. I don't mind trying that. You see these trees just down here, and the magpies keep sitting in there. You'll hear them chattering away. And it's like a little gathering area, it seems. If you've got a chosen subject, as I have definitely today, then if you've something else to photograph whilst you're waiting, even if it's something, you know, you might think is not particularly special, then it's worth doing. Partly just to practice your skills, if nothing else. I'm happy to say that my improvised lens support is going okay. For this kind of setup, one of the things I think is really important is to try and get your tripod level. So I really try and use the spirit bubble on the top of my tripod here. Before I get the camera on, I try and get it as level as I can. Now, if you're just doing static shots, it's probably not as important. It's not absolutely essential. But I think if you're doing flight photography, or it could be a running animal, or anywhere really where you're covering a lot of ground, sort of like a big angle, then I think it's really important to try and get it as level as you can, because otherwise when you turn, and the more you turn, the more uneven it gets. You're going to end up with a wonky horizon basically. So I'll try and get that nice and dead centre, and then I know I'm nice and straight. As well as the constant flybys from magpies, roe deer are actually keeping me entertained as well. I absolutely love these animals, and I think because I've learnt so much about my local roe deer, I just enjoy watching them even more. Absolutely beautiful and fascinating animals. If I've got this kind of setup where I'm standing with the tripod and the big lens, then I like to have one leg at the front and two at the back, and then I can basically stand in between those two legs. And I might do it a little bit differently if I'm sat down, but I feel like it just gives me more room to sort of move around between those legs. Come on, Asio Flamius, get over here. So where I am now, I'm shooting almost completely towards the sun. It's not long after sunrise, but there's quite a bit of cloud where the sun is, so that's really helping to diffuse the light. Otherwise it'd be very, very strong, very difficult to work with. But then to the side, there's less cloud. So as the sun comes round, I think it's going to get into clearer sky. It's going to be brighter, but because the sun is going to be more behind me, it's not going to be too much of a problem. No sign of any owls yet, but what was absolutely amazing is I've probably been here about maybe half an hour and seen a sparrowhawk about 3 times. The same one, it looks like, which I think is a female, and it's done a few flybys, but very, very quick. I haven't managed to get any pictures of it. I might have got some video, but it looks like it's hunting from the same place. It's landed on this post twice, which is concealed by lots of teasels, so you can't really get a clear view. But just amazing to see. Sparrowhawk's just landed again. I think it's the same one. It's just landed in this clump of trees. It's right in the middle, so you can see it quite clearly. It's quite far away. That was amazing. I was just waiting, hoping it would take off, and it did, and it just flew low, like right across over this rough field, and yeah, I just did my best, and I got some reasonable shots. The light isn't great, but it's just, to see a wild sparrowhawk flying like that pretty close is fantastic. I'm happy that my sparrowhawk images are actually pretty sharp, but you can see there that the highlights in the wingtips are blown. I did manage to recover this a little bit in Lightroom. Speaking with another photographer, we agreed that this sparrowhawk is actually a young male. The first 4 hours just absolutely flew by. I really enjoyed just being out here, enjoying the scenery and the beautiful weather, but once it hit midday, time just seemed to slow down. From 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock seemed to drag on forever, and 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock I'm sure must have taken at least 5 hours. The sparrowhawk returns, but it's so fast I don't manage a picture. It lands on the post and it starts preening, but I just can't get a clear view for all the teasels around it. It's there, it's not too far away. I can see the little movements through the teasels. I can see its feathers moving, and at one point the entire tail is spread. This sparrowhawk is having a really good old preen. So far I just haven't seen any owls at all, and everything just seems to be going wrong today. As well as forgetting my lens plate, I've also managed to forget my microphone for the stills camera, and the batteries for the vlogging camera, 2 of them have died already. The last couple of hours of waiting can be really tough. I've now been here for 6 hours, but I'm going to see it through. There's now a small group of us, all here for the same reason, waiting patiently as the temperature begins to drop. The sun finally sinks and the sky begins to flood with colour. There were no short-eared owls today, but in the dimness of dusk, under a hazy moon, we watch a lone barn owl flying purposefully towards the cliff tops. That was a long day. I got here just before 8 in the morning and it's now, I think it's 4:30 coming up for 5. I don't even know how many hours that is because I'm pretty tired now, but it's quite a long time. And I stayed in that one spot for the entire time, for every second. I just wanted to challenge myself a bit and I didn't want to miss anything. Because you never know with a bird like a short-eared owl, it could just turn up any time of day and just one good opportunity can be enough to get some great shots. In keeping with this photo shoot, the last bit of juice on my final vlogging battery ran out as I was making this outro. If you like this style of in-the-field bird photography vlog, then click the video that's up on the screen where I visit Alkborough Nature Reserve. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.